You're listening to the Bird Dog Babe podcast with my mom, Courtney Bastian.
It's a lot of luck to find the right dog that can do everything you want to do. But really, I think the biggest thing that I learned from her was to enjoy every second of it. Because once you get through all those competitions and titles and everything, you look back and you go, did I get to enjoy it, or was I too nervous or too worried about achieving the title? And running dogs after her, I was able to enjoy everything a little bit more. Not that I didn't enjoy the time with her in the field or anywhere that I went with her, but I was always more worried in the beginning about just getting that master hunter, getting that utility, getting her versatile champion, getting her dual champion and all that stuff. It was all like just nerves the whole time instead of like just breathing, going, this is fun. Like, this dog's awesome and I should enjoy every second of it.
Hey bird dog babes, my name is Courtney Bastian and I am obsessed with all things bird dogs. And I'm here with you to share the stories, experiences, knowledge, and opinions from the women and a few guys in the industry that are killing it. I'm a Wisconsin girl living in a Montana world. I'm mom and two incredible kiddos, wife and occasional assistant to a pro gun dog trainer, traveling the U.S. talking about canine nutrition while hunting, breeding, and competing with my German wire hair pointers and Bracco Italianos. As someone who started hunting later in life because I wanted to give my dogs the opportunity to do what they were bred to do, I'm here to help inspire, educate, and connect women to get their bird dogs out in the field and experience a bond like no other. So pour yourself a glass of wine and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. This is the Bird Dog Babe podcast. The purpose of my podcast is to learn, inspire, encourage, and be challenged. I sometimes take for granted the amount I've learned from my past experiences and the fact that my husband, Wiliam Bastian, is one of the best pony dog trainers I know. I've asked him to join me for a mini-series once a month to share some of his training tips and tricks, to which he has agreed. In those bonus episodes, which will be published one Saturday per month, he will answer your questions, offer advice, or share solutions to common training issues. If you're one of my Patreon patrons, you'll also get video demonstrations of those issues. Today's episode is a tribute to the amazing dogs that have brought amazing people into our lives. Not only the people, but also the experiences, memories, and ability to enjoy and succeed at what we are passionate about, the birds and the bird dogs. Recently, we've lost some pretty amazing dogs that helped us to be where we are today, and my heart really needed this discussion to share those memories, so my husband, along with one of our very best friends, hunting partner, and training partner, Adam Delude, joined me for this one. Wiliam and Adam owned and trained two of the only 5 dogs to ever achieve the honor of earning the titles of NAVHDA Versatile Champion, AKC Dual Champion, and AKC Master Hunter, which is a combination of ultimate versatility in land and water, have the drive and independence in competitive horseback field trials, the cooperation, obedience, and bird manners of a master hunter, and not only meet but exemplify their breed standards of conformation. Listen as they tell us what type of dog it takes to achieve these accomplishments, the suggested path for those looking to do the same, and do you think it's a coincidence that these two dogs are also their favorite dogs for ruffed grouse? These guys got me into grouse hunting. For them, it's a passion that requires research, strategy, love for the rough, and a damn good dog. We kick back and share some of our favorite grouse hunting stories and the dogs that brought us together. So let's get after it. Thank you to sponsor Dakota 283. Unparalleled protection for traveling to and from your favorite hunting spot. Dakota 283 kennels are a premium quality rotomold with recessed handles on top for convenient and safe tie down and makes it easy to lift up into the truck. I love the secure door frame with high security lock, so I know my dogs are safe when I need to stop for fuel. An added bonus is the drain hole in the back, which makes cleaning a breeze when your dog has been run hard and put away wet. Okay, so Adam Delude is at home in Wisconsin, and my husband's sitting right here next to me in the closet because this is the recording studio.
It's pretty tight in here.
It's pretty tight. It's pretty hot. And the average podcast length goes like an hour, so we might get feisty in here and one of us might walk out. But, okay. How's it going, Adam?
Good.
Thanks for coming on today. I wanted to have this little podcast episode with my two favorite and best hunting buddies and the guys that got me started in grouse hunting and taught me how. And I know it's not always fun to maybe take a new person with, and so I just always appreciated you guys being open to that. And so yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so what I want to know from you guys, first of all, Adam, William and I were trying to figure this out the other day, but when exactly or how did we all meet? Do you remember?
Not really.
I don't, don't feel bad because we don't either.
We kept coming up with stories and we're like, no, that wasn't it. No,
Yeah.
We knew him before that.
I'm sure we probably met at a dog show.
Yeah. And my first thought was, Kristen Waking and I, went down to Chicago and evaluated your litter of puppies. And,
yeah.
But he was saying, oh no, we were grouse hunting before that.
Yeah, we knew him before that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But, so you got...
That was his grouse cabin litter. His famous grouse cabin litter.
Oh, that's right.
Can't get her pregnant, so just bring her into the grouse woods.
Where all the magic happens.
The Cedar Crest cabin.
The only thing that could make this moment feel a little bit better right now is each of us having a cold bottle of Sundrop.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're drinking some Huckleberry hard cider, though, instead.
Yeah, we are.
And Adam's at home eating. What are you eating?
Blueberry waffle cone.
Oh.
Are you serious?
Heck yeah.
That's your favorite, too. Did Adam start you on that?
No, I started him.
So, what I want to know, first question, how and when did you get started in bird dog hunting or testing? What came first, hunting or testing?
For me?
For both of you.
For me, it was hunting. I grew up in a family that didn't hunt, really. We did some deer hunting, but that was it. Went out and sat in a deer stand and froze my butt off and shot deer that walked by underneath my stand. Just didn't seem fun. So I got into bird hunting. Had some friends that had labs. Grew up in Minnesota. It was decent pheasant hunting. So just walking around and behind some labs and shot my first pheasants back then. So it was probably 14, 15 years old when I started.
And behind the Labradors?
Behind Labradors.
I never saw that fleshing part of you of our entire time together.
I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a dog.
I mean, I've seen you with some dogs that fleshed for you, but no.
He's never told anybody that story before.
He hasn't. I think you're exactly right. Adam, what about you?
Pretty similar. Grew up in a family that didn't really hunt, at least while I was growing up. And I got into deer hunting and came up to Wisconsin and deer hunted quite a bit. And then started to bow hunt in Illinois at some of the state land that did put and take pheasant hunts, and would sit in a tree and watch folks walk through the fields and watch all the pheasants run through the woods. And it's kind of fun. And walked out of the parking lot one day and saw somebody with a German short hair, and that just piqued my interest. And I met a guy that took me out for my first pheasant hunt as well, and I did shoot my first pheasant over a lab as well. It was a pointing lab, but a lab.
Short hair was my first pointing dog I ever shot a bird over too.
Was it?
First pointing dog I ever hunted over, yeah.
Which dog was that?
Oh, it was just a friend of mine in high school. It was towards the end of my high school years, and I went off to college going, I'm getting one of those pointers.
How did you come across, I know the story, but tell the listeners how you decided upon a wire hair. Actually, no, let's go back. Before the wire hair, so when we met, I had the Irish setter.
Yes.
And then you wanted a pointing dog.
Yeah, and you already know this, but I don't even know if Adam knows this. My very first pointing dog we picked up was a Weimaraner. Yeah, the Gray Ghost. Your brother got one too, the same litter.
I love that I heard Adam giggle too.
Well, yeah.
So
you learn your lessons early.
Yeah, well, you know what though? My favorite part of that story, because he was an awesome dog.
Yeah, he was a cool dog.
But his name was Gunner. And he was gun shy.
He really didn't like that gun, though.
Oh, bless his heart. He had all good intentions, though.
Yeah, he lived a long life. He was a good boy.
And you learned from that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you learned that you should get a wire hair.
Among other things. Yeah, but you were the one that got me onto the wire hairs because of the place you worked at in college, and your boss had one. Yep. And
the vet I worked for had one.
You called me up and you said, "You gotta come look at this dog." And, that beard got me right away.
Yeah, she was pretty cute. So Adam, did you start doing testing with Reggie?
No, he was just a hunting dog.
Okay.
I did some tournament hunts with him, but that was it. Just at one of the hunt clubs that I belonged to in Illinois, I would go down and I can't even remember what it's called, but they did like a tournament series throughout Northern Illinois, and I would participate in the ones at that club.
Like a chucker hunt or something?
Yeah, the timed pheasant, or
yeah,
I think it was timed pheasant hunts, but shoot as many birds as you can, and however long it takes you, and act totally unsafe with a gun running through the field, all that good stuff.
Because speed walking with a loaded weapon is really good.
Exactly.
I've done that before.
So your first dogs, what do you guys? So Allie was your first dog.
Allie was the first dog I really got serious about training. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what I love about you guys is that you both had dogs named Allie.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Our first dogs that we competed with, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So what do you think from your, let's say your first competition dogs, what did you learn the most from both of them?
Well, mine didn't have a hunting pedigree at all, so I learned quite a bit from her. Just the fact of how to train and how to not do certain things and whatnot. She taught me a lot. She was a soft but very talented once you got to know her. Learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes with my first dog, but she was good enough to figure that out, and I achieved more with her than probably should have.
What do you mean by that? That you achieved more with her than you should have?
Well, if you would have looked at her on paper, she should have never been a utility master hunter at all. I mean, I don't think there was a hunting title in her pedigree when we bought her.
Right.
But she turned out to be a pretty darn good grouse dog.
Mm-hmm. Well, what she taught me the most of, and how much emphasis we put on that duck search portion of the utility test.
Oh, yeah.
That we've really never had to teach or train any of the wire hairs how to put on a duck search. And when I think of Allie Jo doing her duck search when she swam out to that first bog and stood on it and then stared at you for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that gives a big, I think, notation in a breeding on drive that is just there in a dog that can go around there and rip it up, or else one that just doesn't really have that needs to maybe be taught to do it.
Yeah, I guess that's what we strive for the most, is to not have to teach that portion.
Right. Adam, what about for you? What was it with Allie that you learned the most about that you were able to move forward with?
I really think it was, it takes, it's a lot of luck to, to find the right dog that can do everything you want to do. But really I think the biggest thing that I learned from her was to enjoy every second of it. Because once you get through all those competitions and titles and everything, you look back and you go, did I get to enjoy it, or was I too nervous or too worried about, achieving the title? And, running dogs after her, I was able to, enjoy everything a little bit more. Not that I didn't enjoy the time with her in the field or anywhere that I went with her, but I was always more worried in the beginning about, just getting that master hunter, getting that utility, getting, her versatile champion, getting, her dual champion and all that stuff. It was all like just nerves the whole time, instead of like just breathing, going, this is fun. Like, this dog's awesome and I should enjoy every second of it.
Right. And don't you think when you got her out in the grouse woods that you were just able to enjoy it that much more before that reason?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that was our release, just to go have fun. She'd behave and do everything I asked her to do for, 9 months of the year. Those 3 months of, grouse hunting were her time to do whatever the heck she wanted to do.
Right. And Allie, so Adam's Allie was, for me, the epitome of the short hair breed. And Adam did everything, every single title on that dog, you did on your own, did you not?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm missing something, but those titles include a NAVHDA Versatile Champion, a AKC Best in Show, and that is an all-breed Best in Show. That is a Master Hunter and a Dual Champion. And
You did some obedience with her too, didn't you, Adam?
Yep.
Okay. What did you have for obedience on her?
Companion dog.
Okay. And what about, did you do AFC with her?
Yep.
You did? Okay.
Yep.
Did I miss anything else?
Let's see. She was a German Shorthair Pointer Club of America retrieving dog, excellent. She was shoot to retrieve pointed. What else did she do? Multiple bested specialty show winner. Yeah, I don't know. Bronze grand champion. Whatever.
Amazing. Amazing. And she is, and that's, you're right. When you said we probably met at a show, I'm sure we did, because I have no doubt that I went out of my way to go, damn, that's a nice pitch. Because when I see a good dog, it's hard not to make movement towards it. But kudos to you, Adam. That's awesome. What do you think it is that made you want to achieve those things with her, from having your first short hair and then getting her? What made you go from not competing to just, going all out and then some?
It was always, somebody had once, like right when I got her, said, oh, you should take her to confirmation class and have somebody evaluate her. And I was like, I don't know. And I went, and the guy was like, yeah, she's really nice. You should really do this. And I was like, she's my hunting dog. Like, that's all I really want to do. You probably just want my $7 every week. but I did it, and I tried, and, you know, we were successful pretty quick, and, you know, we rolled through that. And, you know, then I was like, well, I can, you know, do some hunt tests, and I just kept going, and it was just like, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? And, you know, you get to the point, I'd done, I don't know, I did the show stuff and the hunt test stuff, and then I dabbled with the shoot to retrieve, and then it was, you know, somebody's like, oh, you know, she's not a field trial dog, and I don't know. So when somebody tells me that she's not something, I was like, well, let's see.
Yeah.
So,
Oh boy.
so when I did that, and like her first weekend, she won a stake and placed in the other stake that she ran in, and really, I took her along to run, you know, Kobe in trials, who was more. I mean, he was an older dog, but, you know, he was a little bit more suited for it right off the bat than she was. You know, it took her a little bit to learn just because of the games that we played before that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
you bought her just to be as a grouse dog, didn't you?
yeah, because Reggie
that
was
the intent.
Yeah, exactly. Reggie was like the worst grouse dog ever, but he was an amazing pheasant dog, and I was like, I really want a grouse hunt. And so that was, you know, Cindy had bred grouse dogs, you know, grouse short hairs, and I went out to Pennsylvania to get myself a grouse dog, and that she was.
Mm-hmm.
And more.
Yeah. Yeah. What about for you? What made you like let's skip a couple dogs and go to Carmen, because and I guess I can just say for a while there, I just feel like we were doing champion master hunter, champion master hunter, champion master hunter. You know, you got so many under your belt, and then all of a sudden one day
doing utility dogs too, but we didn't venture into the field trial world. I never really, I guess, had a respect or really understood it fully until somebody said you couldn't do it, or
someone said,
or they said you're not worth it unless you do this with your dog or whatnot. So I guess that just started a fire, and I said, well, the next one I get, I'm gonna give it a whirl. Just turned out to be that she really liked it. I guess the thing that what makes me want to do these things is the dogs. I mean, they show they want to do it, and then they show a love towards certain things. I mean, they all have their talents in certain things, but it all goes across the board. And the more you do it with more different things you do with them, it's just, it makes it rewarding for you, because you get a big smile on your dog's face steering it, and then you just feel like, yeah, you're doing the right thing.
And something I noticed with Adam, your Allie, and Carmen is that they were dogs that just kind of, you guys moved with them at their pace. You didn't push them. You just kind of used the ability that they had, and what would you say, formed it? Yeah.
I mean, we did the things in the steps that best suited them first.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we rushed either dog. I mean, there was a point where I rushed Allie in seniors, and, you know, I realized it after a few tests, and then I was like, I think I took the rest of the fall off or something, and came back in the spring when she was really ready, and then it was just like bang. But that I think that was key. It was just, you know, taking your time and letting them tell you when they're ready, and rolling through it that way.
Yeah, I guess I think I did that with Carmen's utility test.
Mm-hmm.
I did that a little early, because we were still running trials, and she was still kind of a little wild child at that time. So, you know, I just decided to finish that trial stuff and then go back and do that utility, which I think was a better suit for her.
So to touch on that point, I mean, when you're taking a dog through this, you just mentioned you did the field trialing first, and then you did utility. So I don't know, Adam, I don't really remember what your path was on what titles what came first with Allie, but do you think that if somebody is interested in trying all the different venues with their dog, that they should take it in any specific order to make it a little bit more easy on them?
I think that you should probably start with trials. I did not. I started with hunt tests and then, then NAVHDA, and then I guess I did NAVHDA and hunt tests at the same time, and then got into trials, as an older dog. But if I had to do it again, I would start with trials, and I think, they can be a little bit more on edge. It's not as, I don't want to say structured, but it's strict. It's not as, it's polished. It's just a different kind of polished.
Yeah.
Do you think because it's easier to bring them in than it is to kick them out? It's like that kind of a theory?
Well, I always say you can't really kick a dog out. They just got to want to do that. I mean, you can teach them and cater to their talents, but you can always bring a dog in, but you can't just push them out. You push them out, it shows that it ain't real.
Yeah. I think it depends on where you're at and what kind of grounds you have to run on as well. I mean, here in the Midwest, it's a lot of edge country, and you're running edges, and you're not, that's what you want to see in the field trial world. Whereas you go and play in a hunt test or NAVHDA, and your birds are out in the middle of a, 10-acre field. And it kind of, if you start doing that with your dog, it's hard to teach your dog to run an edge after, his whole first 3 years is finding birds in the middle of the field. So,
right.
But I think out where you guys are at now, it might be a little bit different, where, out on the prairies, a dog's just, he can go forever out there, and it'd be a little bit different than running around here.
Yeah, if there is any sort of edge or bush or something, dogs are like beelining to it, because that's your first point of cover or structure out there on the field. But yeah, they stretch their legs a little bit more out in the prairies, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about a routine and to do it in order?
I think it's to do what your dog's telling you to do. I mean, if you really want to try to pursue it all, I think it's really hard to make a trial dog. I think they have to have it. So I think doing the trial first is probably the best bet. Not to say you can't make one, but it's a lot harder. I think any kind of the dogs can really do the other tasks. It's more obedience based stuff. But I think I would definitely do the trial stuff first. Your best bet to do it young would be better. But not to say you can't do it when you're older. Adam's living proof of that.
Yeah. And what I thought was kind of neat that you did with Carmen in this last time is actually you did it with Stasha too, that after the dog earns their utility prize 1, then you start running them in Master Hunter, because it's basically training for the field portion of the invitational.
Kind of, yeah. You're bracing yourself with another dog. It's not quite as long, but
similar scenarios though.
Similar, yeah. It's actually, I would say, more strict in the AKC world. So for the fieldwork portion.
So the kind of dog that it takes to be a VC, DC, Master Hunter, because so I know we have the only one in wire hairs. Adam, are there 2 in short hairs or 3?
There are 3.
3. Was Allie the first?
She was.
Okay. And there's a Weimaraner as well, right?
Correct.
Okay. So there's 5 total.
Is there a Bronco?
Not yet. There's not.
Okay.
The Broncos are night champions. Come on.
Oh.
Night champions, timeout. Are you guys hounding out my Broncos again?
No, we're just giving you
a little
leg
bit.
up.
All right, then get back to the question. What kind of dog does it take to be a VCGC MH? Since there's only 5 total in the country, unless we're missing somebody, which is possible, and I apologize, but
I'm sure you'll get an email if you're missing somebody.
I will. But why is that? Why do you think that there have only been 5 dogs that have been able to make that accomplishment to show, I would say, amazing versatility?
Well, first of all, you gotta have a handler crazy enough to want to do it all. No, that takes a really talented dog that just wants to work and loves to work. First of all, then it takes, like I said, it takes somebody that wants to. No, I don't even want to say push, but wants to give that opportunity to that dog, every opportunity possible. You know, you don't know until you try it if the dog's going to be good at it or not. So I guess it takes a little bit of both on the human side and the dog side.
And for the most part, the dog has to be willing to work with, different people. I mean, if you think, I know for sure that the other 2 short hairs, at least, whether it was the show ring or the field, like had, multiple handlers. I mean, even with you guys, Carmen and, whoever showed her and, William ran her in the field. Like it's not something
I showed her by myself.
But man, for her amateur, yeah. I mean, there was 1, 2.
So for her amateur, Adam,
3 or 4,
and Wayne Yamashita,
yeah,
and Randy Pate, and Mark Nielsen even got
won with
her.
Yeah. So it was 4 different people that ran her, and she didn't care who was running her. She was just happy to run.
She's like, "You're up on the course, all right, let's go."
I don't care who flushes this bird, just come over here and flush it.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but I mean, even you showing her, Courtney, and William handling her, in the field, like, I mean, nobody could have shown Allie and been successful with her the way, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like it takes, like the dogs have to be able to, for the most part, be able to work with multiple different people and have that bond to get the best out of them with whoever's, on the other end of the lead or on the other end of the whistle.
Right. Would you say it's a independent dog, a confident dog? Like what kind of characteristics kind of stand out?
I think you got to have a really well-rounded dog to be able to do that. Just especially like Adam was saying, to be able to have other people just handle your dog for you. You got to be able to hand them over some directions and a steering wheel and go, this is how you do it, and go give it a whirl. Mm-hmm. And the dog performs just as good or sometimes even better than, your normal handler does it. You're just like, wow, that's pretty cool.
And
I think cooperation is key.
Yeah, I was going to say cooperation. Yeah.
You're not going to do, you're not going to do any of it if you don't have a cooperative dog. I mean, you might be able to squeak by and get, and achieve one of the titles, but you're not going to be able to, you're never going to be a VC without, having a cooperative dog. You're never going to be a field champion without having a cooperative dog. I mean, the dog has to be willing to work for you. Mm-hmm. You're asking a dog to, whether it's doing a blind retrieve or, making a huge cast and holding a bird, for 10 minutes while the scout finds it on point. Like, that dog ain't standing there for its, for its own good. It's standing there holding that bird for you. So if it's not cooperative, it's not going to get it done.
Right. Let's go back to the grouse woods. You guys are both considered assholes. So let's define that a little bit and how you got that name per Papa Ruff's standards of defining what an asshole is in the northern Wisconsin grouse woods.
Well, we got to go back and talk about the time frame of this, when all this happened.
Okay, do it.
I'd have to say that, I don't know, Adam will probably agree with me that whole time period was like peak grouse hunting at that time. I mean, I think they were definitely, the numbers were higher than I've ever seen them any time past that. It wasn't an odd day to have 30, 40 flushes a day. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, there was covers we were walking into. There was 30, 40, birds. I mean, it was nuts.
You go in there now, you ain't gonna see that kind of stuff. But the numbers were in our benefit. But I guess an asshole is defined as someone who takes a full limit that day. I think it's grouse and woodcock. Or is it just grouse?
No, just grouse.
Just grouse.
Yeah.
We just rubbed it in when we would take a limit of woodcock on the same day.
I think we were ultimate assholes when we shot a
We did that.
So, how many times have each of you been an asshole? Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't know.
I think I'm a 2-time asshole, 2 or 3 times.
What are you?
I'm that, and maybe more. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Maybe more. To hear him, Adam, he's defining asshole for us.
I spent a lot more time in there. I spent the whole entire month up there that year.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more time to be the ultimate asshole.
Yeah, that's when you were training full time, right?
Yeah.
You just rented the cabin for the month and trained and hunted.
Took a string up there. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Dogs really had a ball.
Well, I've never been an asshole in my life, so.
Well, you will be.
Some people may call me other things, but I'm not a genuine asshole.
You might be this year.
We'll see.
The numbers are right there.
Those western grouse, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Plenty of your shot.
My shot. Are we going to go there?
No.
Kind of have to now.
What? I prefer the pre-flight position.
Yes, they usually are in a pre-flighted position when you make your shot.
Just to be fair though, to show like my rugged toughness, is the very first grouse I shot. Remember, it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, "We're just gonna stay in today. It's raining." And I took Allie Joe out, our very first wire hair, and I shot a bird, and she retrieved it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just that's a great story, and that's my story. Why are you smirking at me?
Because there's more to that story.
What?
About how the bird just fell out of the sky. And she's like, "Where did this thing come from?"
That closet's getting pretty small.
It's getting pretty hot in here. We don't all have a great shot, so you take them and get them.
Yeah,
and it was just as delicious as any bird you've shot.
It was pretty good.
It was.
I can't complain. My wife was out in the woods hunting. Can't ask more than that.
All right. Which is your favorite grouse dog that you've ever hunted over?
The funnest grouse dog?
The best grouse dog. Your favorite grouse dog.
I'll go 2. The funnest grouse dog for me to hunt over was probably Boone.
Oh.
Because he was so funny. In the way he moved. And the way he celebrated himself. The dog could definitely find birds. And he was the goofiest dog I've ever met. My favorite dog that I probably had in the grouse would probably be Carmen. And I hunted her for a long... Well, she's still around, but gosh, I started hunting grouse with her when she was only 6 months old. It was hilarious that first year because she couldn't point a woodcock if her life depended on it, but she was pointing grouse like left and right. So that first season with her, every time she went on point, I knew it was a grouse. So I'm like, oh, I got to hustle over there because it was a grouse. It took her probably towards the end of the month to finally start pointing woodcock. And I'll remember it because I hustled over there thinking it was a grouse, and a woodcock got up. I'm like, I was disappointed. Like, oh, bummer. But good girl.
But she, that's funny though that you say that, because now she'll completely pass up a pheasant if there's a Sharpie.
No, not a Sharpie, a hun.
I mean a hun.
She does have her favorite birds, but yeah.
She's a bird snob.
Well, that's fine, as long as she picks the good ones.
Gosh, what about you, Adam? I guess we're splitting up the question.
Sure. I think probably the most fun dog or the funniest dog to hunt with was probably, I mean, no offense, but Carmen, like just her barking. Like, I mean, it didn't matter if she's like 7 miles away in the woods. Like, you knew where Carmen was. Just listen, just sit there for a minute, you'll find her.
She would. Because she'd be like, why does she do that? Like, if you lose her or what?
Yeah, and then she likes to talk to me. Just, once she knows where I am, she'll bark a little bit, and then I'll call her again. And then she'll bark right away, like, I'm finding you. But she had she liked to run big, and she was a little, especially when she was young. She never, I don't know, she still does it from time to time. She did that
this last fall.
Yeah, she still does it from time to time, and not nearly as much as she did when she was little. Like, we'd be hunting thick cover, and we'd go through the cover, and we'd get into this little bit of open area, and she'd just be gone. She'd just see that open area, and she'd just like hit it into overdrive, and I'm just see my Garmin just keep climbing and climbing and climbing. Like, oh great, she took off again.
And then all of a sudden she just started barking.
Yeah, find her way back.
Usually in field trials, that's what the handler does, starts singing to the dog so they know where you are. And in the woods, Carmen sings to you.
She sings to me to make sure I'm following her, I guess.
But it's only in the woods. That's what's really weird about it. It's like, it's only grouse hunting. It's the least, that's the only time I've ever seen her do it.
Yeah. It is strange. I know she never did it in field trials, did she?
No.
Just off the line.
Off the line, yeah. Which doesn't correlate really. Excitement? I don't know.
No, I think the main reason why she did that is because she's lost. She didn't know where I was, and she'd just like to talk, which is fine with me. I knew she was out there, where she was coming from. It made it a little easier to find her.
And what about your favorite grouse dog, Adam?
Probably Allie.
Yeah.
I mean, she just, if you needed a bird, you just put her down, and you were gonna put a bird in the bag. I mean, there was days that when I had the young dogs up there, and I was like, I'm going to give you the day off. You rest. You've hunted hard all week. And it'd be like 4:00, and I hadn't killed a bird yet. And I'm like, yeah, I know I told you I'm giving you the day off, but let's go. and
she was always up for it.
Yeah, she just knew how to do it. She just knew how to handle them. She also, I mean, she wasn't a huge fan of woodcock. I mean, she'd point them, and but it wasn't. They definitely weren't her favorite bird. But she was a grouse dog for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you guys think makes a great grouse dog? Why were those two for you the best ones you've had?
I think bird sense, just knowing. They just know. They know where to find them, and they know how to handle them. Like, you can't teach that. I mean, I'm sure you can, the more, with more and more exposure, but like, I think both Carmen and Allie, like just watching Carmen grow up in the woods, you didn't have to teach it. Like, it was not like, you weren't popping launchers when dogs are getting close to birds. Like, they went in the woods and they knew how to do it from the start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you said earlier, like, that Reggie wasn't a good grouse dog at all, is that then because you just don't think that he was good at finding them?
No, Reggie would push. He was very pushy, and grouse just aren't going to handle that. A pheasant will, because it's just going to run, and whereas the grouse is out of town if a dog puts his nose on the ground and pushes up a little too far. So he was a great pheasant dog because he could put his nose on the ground and track that running bird and pin it the right way. But just grouse, like, I think, I don't know. My experience is dogs that, run with a good high head will outperform those dogs that are running around tracking all day too. So
yeah, if their head is down and they're tracking, they need to have a really long nose. Yeah. And stop on those signs of track. If they don't, then they're going to push birds. I guess the faster, snappier, graceful dogs in the woods are the ones that are going to be finding and surprising those birds and holding them, because they caught those birds on surprise.
Yeah.
And like Adam says, I don't think you can teach a dog how to handle a bird like that, a wild bird. They have it or they don't. I mean, you may get lucky, but sometimes with other dogs, but some dogs just do it consistently over and over and over again. But my remembrance of Allie is she had a really sensitive nose. Yeah. She'd be a dog that would point a grouse turd on a log.
Yep.
Just because there was a sign there and she needed to be cautious. I mean, she had a very sensitive nose, and she knew that they didn't take pressure.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, just super, super cautious, super sensitive nose, but they need it. They need it in the woods. I mean, you got to think, think of all the different scents that, that you're dealing with in the woods compared to what you're dealing with out in a CRP field, in November, where you got a big old pheasant running around. Like, some of these birds are sitting underneath evergreens and, all that, all that's adding to it. Like, they really have to be able to distinguish a bird from, through all that other scent that's out in the woods.
So how successful could a dog be? And this is just generally speaking. So somebody that mainly pheasant hunts, let's say the dog's been pheasant hunting hardcore for 3 or 4 years, and the owner just decides, I want to give grouse hunting a try this year. I'm going to go hit the woods. How is that dog going to do?
I really think it depends on the dog.
Okay.
One other thing earlier is like the confidence of the dogs on point. If dogs are really super sure exactly where those birds are, like if you walked in on Allie on a point, you could look at her nose and you could draw a line, straight line, and it'd be exactly where that bird is. Like, that's what made her, Carmen is the same way, that's what made them hold those birds, because that bird was so scared that it was locked down that tight. It's dogs that are like pointing in the other direction and aren't exactly sure where that bird is that bird's thinking, oh, well, I think I can get out of here. And you'll lose them. But coming in from pheasant hunting, it really depends on the dog. If they have bird sense and they're savvy, it may only take a few flushes and they'll pick up the game. And they could struggle for a while too. It depends on the dog.
Yeah. I think, if that's what you've done for 3 or 4 years is just pheasant hunting, I think you just have to walk in the woods knowing that you're probably going to be frustrated after a day or two. Like, it's just different, like different birds, and it takes a different dog to handle them. I mean, there's dogs who can handle both, but if that's all they've done and that's all they know, it's, pheasants are a beast in themselves.
What was your favorite grouse hunt? Do each of you have a story where you're like, this was the hunt for me, this was my favorite one?
I don't know. They were all fun. Anytime I could get myself in the woods was a great time. I love the colors, and I'll never forget the smell of the grouse woods. Gets me every time. And now that we moved here in the fall, I get to smell it every day. But probably one story that I think was really funny, I should say, is it was with Adam. And it was the day we started stuffing our grouse carcasses for road hunters because
What? What?
It was really thick that
There's
year.
a whole new reason for you guys to be assholes in the grouse woods right now.
But it was a bit. I mean, the word got out that the northern Wisconsin was really, numbers were high, and we would see. Gosh, it was a rarity that we saw somebody with a Wisconsin plate in the woods. And what really bothers me the most is people that are just driving around and road hunting. So we're out there busting our butt and shooting birds, which I wouldn't have it any other way. But then we would clean our carcass when we get back to the truck, or save a carcass and go into the woods was probably my favorite part. And we would stuff it full of old leaves and prop it up and spread the tail out and set it on a stick on a log, like it's like sitting there right on the side of the road. Perfect for a road hunter, right? And then we'd go a little bit down the road and we'd go in and go into a slash and we'd be hunting, and sometimes we would hear boom, somebody would take a shot, and then we hear some profanity afterwards and just start laughing. I don't know how many times we did that, but it was
That's
kinda
terrible.
funny.
You probably broke a lot of hearts in the northern. And were
That's
you
right.
really
We shouldn't have been
were
in
you
the
really a
woods.
partner with that?
Me? Oh yeah. Yeah. That was a grouse camp tradition.
So that wasn't even a grouse hunt. That wasn't a grouse hunt story.
It was pretty funny though.
It was funny. All right, you're done. Good story. Adam, tell me yours.
I think I have two. The one that I guess was a hunt with William and I still remember the spot. It was a slash that was like back off of some old mature hardwoods, and we hiked through all these hardwoods to get back there, and we were hunting, and all I can't remember if I shot and I scared a bear that ran like an arm's length away from William.
That was the story I was going to say. God, that's the same story. That was a crazy story.
I think you probably crapped your pants that day because it was really close.
I don't remember I don't remember the dog I was hunting with. I think it was Allie. And Bird, she goes on point. Bird gets up, and I fire a shot, and a bear got up like 20 yards in front of me, like as soon as I shot. And I don't even know if I hit the bird or not because I was like staring at the bear. And it just got up and stared at me and then took off. And then you came over and I told you what happened. And then I go, I don't know if I hit the bird or not. I wasn't watching. And I think I just crippled it. And you ended up finishing off. It was running around on the ground. But
That's right.
That was a sight, man.
That's
I
crazy.
remember that. But besides that was probably I think it was my first time being an asshole. I shot a limit with Allie in an hour and a half.
Wow.
And it was just nuts.
I remember that spot.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that you would walk into and go, oh, this typical grouse cover. Like there was, but it was just a mix of everything all over the place. I mean, open field and pine plantation and slash and everything, and it was nuts. I think I had texted John. It was like, I got 4 in the bag already, and it was like I don't know, like an hour, and he's like, no way, and I finished it, and then I had nothing to do the rest of the day except go chase woodcock, and then that was the day that I was chasing woodcock with young dogs, and they were pointing grouse, and I couldn't shoot any. So
you warned me on that. My first time out and when I shot my limit with my Allie in before noon, and you said, "No, don't go out there. Don't go out anymore because you'll be cursed." And it was the same thing. I don't know. I saw so many grouse that day; it was unbelievable. I'm like, oh, can't shoot that one.
There's many good stories. Like you can go on for days.
Right.
They're all good stories. Like the one that hit a tree, and I thought I actually shot it. You were on that hunt.
Was I?
Yeah.
We were hunting some really mature stuff, and it flew out of the nowhere, and I swung on it, followed it, and shot it, and it hit a tree and fell down. I'm like, oh, I must have hit it. Threw it in my bag. We kept on the hunt, and towards the end of the hunt, the little thing came alive and flew right out of my pack.
Oh my gosh. You know, I gotta say though, grouse hunting is really difficult to do, especially for a novice, because, and I think that was the main reason why I got the gun I did, so I had 3 shots.
Yeah, I used
So
to call it the machine gun.
Yeah. And you guys always knew when I was shooting, you would say, you'd always hear, boom, boom, boom.
Did you get it?
But the crazy thing that I think about with grouse is I would shoot, you know, and then you could see them, and I always thought I hit it because they go like out and down.
They do some random movements.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I think I got it. And then you guys would like come over and bring your dogs. So between the dog I had and you each had one, we had 3 dogs. And then after like 5 minutes, you guys are like, maybe this one just got away.
Well, I don't know. With grouse hunting, they're not a very strong bird, and you can kill them with, you know, just a few BBs. So it's always worth. If you think you hit it, you got to go look.
Yep.
Even if it's a blind shot, sometimes you're like, I better go look.
Yeah. Well, okay. So just a couple BBs is all it takes to put one down.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can kill one with 1 BB.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
They're pretty weak.
We must have just lost a lot of them that I would shot then.
I'm sure, dear. But then we got to talk about grouse in the Midwest and grouse in the West. I think they're 2 different beasts.
Because they're pushed so much harder.
Oh, I think they're pressured and hunted really hard in the Midwest, and they are a true prize to go hunt after.
Right.
Where every once in a while you'd get into a little patch of them in Wisconsin, and they would act like the ones here, but you would crack that up as this covey of birds hasn't been pressured at all. They don't even know what we are.
Well, do you think that was early season?
No.
Remember that hunt I sent you on with the ATV? Wasn't it like that with that on that?
Yeah.
Hunt?
It's when they fly up in the trees and they look at you like, what are you?
Yeah.
Or they, gosh.
It's just places like that, you know, it's all about finding places that nobody else would go to.
Yeah.
Why would somebody go back there? I mean, even that spot that I was just talking about, like I couldn't get back there with my truck. I bottomed the truck out on a boulder and was like, yeah, I'm never trying that again. So I sent him back there because he had the ATV.
It's like the very first time I ever went grouse hunting. I was brought out by a mentor.
By who?
Mr. Papa Ruff himself.
John Voight. Yeah.
And he brought me to a sweet cover that had just about everything in it. And he was like, this is what you need to look for. This is what they're like. We shot a couple birds in there, and he gave me a crash course. And it was probably an 1.5-hour hunt. And we went back, and then he said, okay, go do it. And I got lost in the woods that first day, just lost. And I stumbled upon this area. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to walk it and see what happens. And there were so many birds in there. And it was like that. It was like there's no reason why a grouse hunter should be back here. And these birds were not very smart. I had one pointed and ran out in front of the dog and was territorial. I'm surprised the dog didn't just snatch it right up. But it was really goofy, but it was fun. I ended up shooting 4 birds that day and came back, and John's like, well, that's the last time I take you out hunting.
How did you learn, Adam?
I just learned really I first went out by myself. Like I didn't have any mentor. John still to this day like refuses to teach me anything. But I went up towards like more like northwest Wisconsin, maybe north central, and around where I fished as a kid growing up, because I sort of knew the area. Like I didn't know the woods at all, and I would just walk, trails and just walk 2 tracks. And I'd kill a bird here and there. And then I went up with Steven to the northeast side of the state. And that was when we, started renting the cabins and hunting that area. And I did have one good friend take me up and teach me probably before that, maybe in between when I was going like out, north, central, northwest. And when Steven took me out, and he kind of gave me a sort of a crash course, just was like, this is the age group you want to look for. And I went out and did it and just stuck with it. And then, I just read and read and read and learned as much as I could. And then got really active into like aerial photo scouting and just concentrating on that and being able to find different areas to hunt. I mean, when we were going up every, for the majority of October, like we had tons of time to go, and scout. Now when we're going up maybe 3 or 4 times a year, it's like you just got to go to the covers, so it takes away from it a little bit.
Yeah, the research and the tracking down the national forest maps and gosh, the aerial photos, we got the color of trees down pat where it would be like, yep, that's the right color. Yep. Or that Google map and with the Onyx and all that kind of stuff now, it's made things so much easier. But
I mean, doing it for the first time or like just joining you guys is so intimidating because you had plot maps that you guys had stars and circles and hearts on and notes on, and then on your GPS coordinates, you guys had all these spots named like Allie's first grouse or Carmen's double, and it's just, it's not one of those things where, hey, I'm going to head out to South Dakota and go hunt some public land today. When you go up grouse hunting for the first time, it's like you need to know what kind of cover to look for, like the slash, the popple, the maturity of them. I mean, all that's all stuff that you guys taught me that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think that's all in the fun of hunting, though, is to learn.
Oh, for sure.
Stuff,
yeah, it absolutely is.
Every time you go out, you learn something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometime you take somebody, you go hunting with somebody, you learn a little bit more.
But would you say for like tips for somebody that's never done it before that wants to give it a try this fall, don't you think that there's some research involved in it before they would go out?
Definitely some research involved. And
to be successful, at least. Yeah,
it depends on what part of the country you're hunting to. Like out here, you find some aspens, you're like, whoa, there are aspens for miles. They're going to be right there, and they usually are. Mm-hmm. But you go up to the Midwest, and they're everywhere. I mean, there's cover everywhere, different kinds of hazel brush, and yeah, definitely got to do your research. And gosh, the tools available to you, man, it's not that hard. I mean, most of those maps out there now that tell you when they were cut, and you just add that to the years that you need, and 5 to 10 year old trees are prime.
What were you gonna say, Adam?
I think the big thing that you need to learn is like how to get yourself out of the woods. And I know it sounds counterproductive, like you're going to hunt and you want to learn how to hunt, but the reality is up there, those woods are big, and even with a GPS, you can get turned around fast. So, like it's happened to me.
Yeah.
Like with a GPS, I got myself turned around, and I had to sit down and figure out how to get myself out of the woods. But that was like the good thing about the Google, like the Google Maps or the aerial photos, is like when I walked in the woods, I knew what I was walking into. I knew the shape of that cut. I knew, what was on both sides. So I knew that if I, encountered a pine plantation, I'm on the northeast side. And in order to get back, I just need to follow this edge around. But it can happen quick up there. So, be safe and, do your research that way too, so you can get home.
Yeah, those cuts are huge, and you can, especially if you get into birds, you can kind of lose your orientation and just keep going and going in, and
Yep.
it's not like out here where you can, oh, there's that mountain peak. That's to the north of me. I know exactly where I am. Gosh, in the Midwest, it's like it's all the same, and it can get dark fast. And
yeah. And I mean, what was scary for me that time I got lost pretty bad was because you had the GPS unit, and we often, whenever we hunt together, I feel like we always kind of separate out.
Yeah.
Eventually, and I didn't have a compass or a map or anything. Found my way back to a road, but yeah, it does get scary.
I've done that myself with the GPS, so it's
yeah.
You just keep walking until you find a road, and you're like, okay, now I know. Wow, I can't believe I walked that far in the woods.
Yeah. If the listeners are thinking these guys really know some really good grouse hunting spots up in northern Wisconsin, I'm going to tell you right now, don't even bother to ask them because they are very stingy with their spots.
We didn't hunt Wisconsin.
No, what are you talking about? We're talking about Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas.
Yeah.
No.
And that's my point.
I'd probably be more apt to give them away now than anything, but I think Adam would call me up and chew my butt.
Exactly. You lose your bestie in a heartbeat.
No, don't worry, Adam. They're locked down.
His tires would be slashed the next morning.
I mean, but seriously, those plot maps that you had stuff all over, do you have those laminated somewhere? I know you didn't throw them out.
They're in the safe.
Are they really? Oh my! I'm not surprised. Oh my gosh.
That's the Bible.
Is it?
Mine are still sitting in the back, behind the seat in the old white truck.
Are they really?
Yep.
Yeah, that way he doesn't forget him when he goes hunting.
They don't leave.
What haven't you hunted yet?
I have to get quite a few. I think I got every grouse.
Okay.
Already. I think I got.
And I'm sorry, this is upland, not every bird species. I'm just saying.
I think I got all the partridge. Well, if you're talking East Coast people, they're gonna be like, "That is a partridge," but chuckers and huns and that kind of stuff. I haven't got a lot of the quail species yet.
Okay.
I've hunted the Californias, the mountain quail, and that's it. I would love to go down and go after some bobs and some scales and some of the merns and that kind of stuff, but haven't been down that way.
What about for you, Adam?
You have a lot to do. I've done ruffs, sharptails, huns, bobs, pheasant, woodcock. I've seen prairie chickens, but never shot one. That was kind of a goal this year. I have not done any chucker or any of the western quail at all.
Sounds like you need to make a trip to visit your friends in Montana this fall. Just saying. So in this popular controversy of which bird is king, you guys are big ruffed grouse hunters. Do you feel that the ruff is the king?
Well, let me tell you. I think I'm a big I was a big ruffed grouse hunter because that was really the closest real wild bird to me when we lived in the Midwest.
Right.
I mean, yeah, sure, we had pheasants, but they weren't really wild. They were kind of put and take state birds. So, I mean, that's what drew me to the woods was, they were truly wild. I mean, to be the king of the birds, I don't know. It kind of depends. It depends because I see them out here and they don't act real king-like. But the Western, the Midwest ones are sure a lot more fun. I tend to like the covey birds. My two favorite birds are chuckers and huns. And just I would probably put the chucker up chukar up on the pedestal because they are the terrain they live in. They're tough birds, and they're not easy to hunt. And they're flying in the wide open, and they're still really, really tough birds to hit. So I would definitely personally put chukar over the roughies. Sorry, rough grouse people, but I've hunted a lot of grouse, and the chukar definitely makes me hang my head.
The chukar's your king?
The chukar's my king, yeah.
Okay. Adam, what about for you?
I don't know. I really don't know. I also enjoy the covey birds. It's so tough. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you been quail hunting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quail are a lot of fun. I mean, it's a blast. Bobwhites, I should say. I mean, when a covey of 30 birds gets up around you, there's nothing like it. I mean, even just training like this last spring before this virus hit, I'd gone down to Missouri and ran dogs with a buddy on some land, and we were pointing wild coveys of quail, and I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I loved every second of it. But I mean, I go out west and I love huns. I love sharptail. I think each one of them presents a challenge. Even running on chickens here in Wisconsin, like they're not easy birds. And that's kind of like, I've never hunted them. Like I've never killed them or shot one, but going to Kansas and seeing the prairie chickens and running on them here in Wisconsin, like they get so spooky that I don't think there's a dog that can handle them late season, whereas I think a dog can handle a rough grouse late season. And I mean, to me, a king has got to be tough all the time. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a king. I just enjoy them all. No, I don't think so. I think I think each dog, like they all have their species that they're really good at, and I think whichever species that is for that dog is king to me. Because like I could take Shay out west, and she loves sharptail. I mean, she is a dynamite sharptail dog. Like that's her king. Like I there's nothing I enjoy more right now than going out west with Shay and hunting sharptail.
And I'm just thinking of the different pairs of dogs that you guys have had training with each other, because you had at the beginning was you had Timo and Adam had Allie when you guys were both preparing and training together for the invitational.
Our first invitational. Talking
about cooperation.
Are you laughing at that story I told you a while ago?
What? What?
You're going to laugh at this one, Adam, because it'll bring back a great memory. We were out training for the invitational. I think we put like 20 birds out, 10 each, and we just were preparing for a train wreck that we might encounter in the invitational, because sometimes there's just birds everywhere. But we were running a brace, and it was going fairly well, and it was towards the end, and we flushed a chukar and shot it, and Timo had no clue where it landed, but it landed, I don't know how far away from Allie it landed, 20, 30 yards maybe. And I sent Timo on a retrieve, and he's looking really hard. And Allie was so worked up because she knew exactly where that bird went that she vomited. She was so worked up that she just like, what? It's just so funny.
I think she sat there eating grass while he was looking, to the point that she threw up. If I remember correctly, that was what happened. It was so bad that he was going to get the retrieve that she was munching on grass and up with puke.
If dogs could talk to me, just get over here, you lumbering idiot, and it's right here. And Allie was standing on the back through this whole debacle, but it was funny.
Poor Allie. And the other fun pair that you guys had was Baxter and Carmen together.
Oh, the liver.
Yeah, the Brown Dogs Rule Team.
The chocolate duo.
Yeah.
Max is sitting at my feet.
He's what?
He's sitting here by my feet right now.
He's such a cool dog. He's so driven too.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed hunting grouse over him as well.
Yeah. No, no, I did.
What?
I mean, he's my. I mean, really, like the last few years, he's really been my go-to grouse dog. You know, the pointers can be a little much in the woods. So unless I take, you know, one of the other brown dogs, it's Baxter gets the call. So most of the birds I've killed lately have been over him.
So are you saying with the type of dogs you have now that they'd probably enjoy moving a little bit further west?
Yeah, they would love to move further west or move to grouse country that doesn't have wolves. I think it's more me than it is them. Like I think they'd be fine, but I'm just paranoid running a dog that's gonna stretch it out in the woods when there's wolves running around.
You just gotta teach those pointers to bark when they get too far away.
Or you could just, I don't know, the one that does bark when she gets far away is 3 weeks from whelp date right now, Adam. I think you need a little brown beard.
A brown beard?
Beard in your life. And that's something I'm actually nervous about because every stud dog we've used, we've either hunted over it, trained it, or been on horseback watching it. And we bred Carmen to a dog that we haven't personally done that with yet. We're relying on a really good friend's input on it. So going a little bit out of our comfort zone.
We've had a dog from the kennel though.
Yeah, but we've had a dog from the kennel that we really, really liked.
So
yeah.
I've seen dogs out of that kennel. So
yeah. So we'll see. You never know what you're gonna get.
Exactly.
Yep. But anything else you guys wanted to touch on? Good friends, good dogs, good hunting stories.
To many more.
Cheers to many more.
Yeah.
Cheers to Adam and Missy moving west. I mean, you should be able to have a couple trips and get everybody here. It only took us. Well, how many trips do we have? 3? 3 from Wisconsin to Montana. So you guys could probably do it in 6.
I said when the whole virus thing started, I was like, let's I don't know what I said. Maybe I was like, let's sell all the goats and load up the horses and just go. Load up the horses and dogs and leave.
How come between you guys, the first animal that needs to go in a move is suggested to be goats? Just asking.
Why?
Because they are the most important.
Because there's so many of them.
They're adorable.
Yeah, we have too many too.
No, we don't. But FYI, goats are major bear bait here.
Yeah.
Telling you.
That wouldn't go over too well.
Well,
maybe you guys should move a little bit east and we should just meet in east Montana, northwest, North Dakota.
Not moving.
I really like living in the western part of Montana.
Yeah.
And be in great driving distance to the eastern side. It's gorgeous here.
And Oregon. We're with it in Idaho.
You get the beauty here and you get the ease of just driving east without all the rattlesnakes and cheatgrass and all that stuff.
I understand.
But we miss you guys, Adam.
We miss you too. I haven't even
tough.
driven by the place because it's just sad. So
I know you dogs are what brought us together, and I mean, you moved up from Illinois.
Yeah.
For that reason, and
You're welcome.
When Allie passed a few weeks ago, I said it to somebody like, I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, I wouldn't be in Wisconsin right now if it wasn't for that dog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't know probably 95% of the people I know right now if it wasn't, for that dog. Because I wouldn't know you guys. I mean, that's just
For sure.
no question about it. So,
yep.
Kind of crazy.
It's the amazing thing about these dogs is not only how special they are in themselves, but just how many people can bring together and the amazing friendships that it forms. And, I told you when she passed, it was awful loss for you, but there were so many of us that cared about her, and she meant a lot to us as well. So our hearts are all kind of breaking.
That's for sure.
And it was Timo passed last year, so it's just, you think of these awesome teams of dogs and experiences that we had together, and just stinks.
It does. They definitely don't live long enough, that's for sure.
Yeah. All
They
right.
leave us with memories, and that's all that matters.
Like amazing memories.
Yeah, for sure.
So many more that we didn't
We
even
won't
touch
talk
on. We won't talk about it. I appreciate you joining us, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
It was fun to reminisce.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll catch up soon. We'll have to meet up this fall for a hunt or 3.
Sounds good. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
We
North
will.
Dakota's in the middle somewhere.
It is.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bird Dog Babe podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and learned something from the content, please share it with your friends. Please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast on whichever platform you're listening from. Check out the show notes for links to references from this episode, as well as info on how to connect through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're loving this podcast and want to support the production and content, please consider becoming one of my Patreon patrons. Being a patron connects us more on a personal level, where I'm able to help answer questions and give advice. My husband Wiliam and I have bred, owned, and trained AKC Master Hunters, Field Champions, NAVHDA VCs, and AKC Show Champions. We're excited to not only share what we've learned, but also listen from previous and future episode guests for additional content. Go to patreon.com/thebirddogbabe and $5 per month and you're in. And as always, 2% goes to conservation. Until next week, bird dog babes, keep them versatile.